input by anyone who was in the classroom who had something of value to say, could put it on the table, question the authority of the instructor, and literally I did not lecture. I had a series of critical questions that were put on the table and required that the students respond to those first by going out and doing their own independent research, bringing it back, and then being able to defend their positions. So, imagine what happens when that student leaves my class and goes to the next class and assumes that that teacher would be open to them raising questions, putting their position on the table, prepared for debates, all of that. And essentially, the university and the other professors consider that to be a threat. So far, as to literally say that we were organizing to overthrow the university simply by creating a space for critical discussion and dialogue where students have felt free to ask questions. I don't know how often that happens, but one, I lost that job, okay? However, it did not deter me, because what I ended up doing was bringing that to Mississippi and putting it in Nolly Jenkins Family Center. And you'll see the results of some of that when those students talk about their experiences as scholars of peace, who are prepared to debate, who are prepared to do their own research, who are prepared to defend their positions, who are prepared to link what they learn to issues that are going on immediately in their environment, in their community. A completely different student. Nothing that you would normally say.
You know, we talk about experience with culturally responsive curriculum. There's an experience that I had with working with a school district here in the state that wanted to do local history, local civil rights history. Macomb, Mississippi. Any of you are familiar with the history of Macomb, Mississippi, you know that it was one of the more violent areas of the state when it came to the civil rights era, the civil rights movement. There's a lot of bombings. There's a lot of, just a lot of things that happened. And so around 2010, 2011, there's an opportunity for schools around the state to learn about civil rights and human rights history. There was a law that was enacted here in Mississippi. And from that law, the Civil Rights and Human Rights Education Commission was born. And we incorporated civil rights and human rights history in all of the social studies classes, K-12, in the state of Mississippi. Now the challenge has been is that, local control, like the sister said, local control sometimes determines what resources are being used to teach in local classrooms. And so this community in Macomb, Mississippi, they wanted their students to learn about the history of Macomb and the civil rights movement. And it was suggested to them that we can't do that because it's not in the standards. So I said, well, let's look at the standards and let's see what we can do.